Okay, so now we're going to begin our discussion of the skeletal system, and we're going to particularly be talking about bone tissue. So we're going to be talking about bone on the cellular level, and then what bones look like, all the bumps, grooves, different things like that, before we get into naming specific bones and specific features on those bones. First, I'd like to just go through briefly the functions of the skeletal system. And what we're talking about is we really have first structural support. So essentially that is what gives my arm this structure, this shape, is the bone in there giving it that rigidity to it. Without bones in my body, I would essentially be a puddle of goo on the floor. So bone gives us that structure and shape that we have. Or at least they contribute heavily to it. The second thing they're going to do is they are going to provide levers for the muscles to act. And let me give you a demonstration of that. Okay, so here, is a bone. Alright, so this would be the forearm area, the antebrachial region, and this of course is the hand. And right here I've got a rubber band. It's attached to one bone up here, and I'm going to attach it to another bone down here. Okay, so the rubber band in this example is a muscle. And so as that muscle is longer, those bones are apart. But the minute we let that rubber band contract, notice that the bones move closer together. Okay, so these bones are levers. The muscles are going to contract and relax, and as they do that, they can cause movement because they're pulling on bones, which are acting as levers. Another thing that we're going to find that bones do is they're going to protect soft tissues that are inside our bodies from physical impact. One of the big places for that, of course, is our rib cage. All right, that's going to protect many of the organs that are lying underneath that. The vertebrae are going to protect the spinal cord, and of course we have the brain, and here we have where the brain would be. So we've got the skull bones that are encasing the brain so that if we get hit in the head, it doesn't hopefully damage our brain, soft brain tissue underneath. We're also going to find that some bones are either hollowed out in the middle, or else they're what's called spongy bone tissues, so they're a bit more porous, kind of like a sponge is. And we're going to find that there's a thing called red bone marrow in the middle of the spongy part, and that's where all of our blood cells are going to be produced. In the hollowed out portions, we're going to find that in adults there's yellow bone marrow there, and this is a place where we actually end up storing a lot of lipids. And then finally, minerals, and particularly calcium, are stored in bones. And so that's going to be involved in regulating blood calcium levels, keeping that in homeostasis. And so we'll talk about all of these different things throughout the rest of this lecture and into the skeletal system lectures.